Welcome to Front Office Pros. Today, we're going to be going through some Dynasty trade targets for contending and rebuilding teams. And with us is a friend of the podcast, Dustin Ludke. He's back.
Hike!
All right, so as we normally do, guest always goes first. So, Dustin, who is your Dynasty trade target for contending teams?
Listen, if you're a contending team, I think you need to go get Najee Harris, running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know he's had 2 down games and he's been splitting work with Jalen Warren, but he is still a good running back when he gets the ball. There's still opportunities for him to get work. The Steelers are pretty much locked into the 3 seed, maybe the 2 seed. I don't think they're going to have any shot at the 1. I mean, they'd have to have so many things go their way. So they could be in situations where they don't need much this year. Now, also, if you're contending, he is a young running back who's hitting the free agent market next year. So you're going to get a guy who's going to get a job next year. There's plenty of teams that need running backs. He's the youngest one out there out of the group that's available this year and next year. So I think Najee Harris' future value is still there. So he's a guy who can give you work this week and next week if you're still playing, week 17, 18, but it can also give you work in the future for the next 3 years.
Hold on a second here. You're saying that you want Najee. I understand. You must believe in Yetis, right? Is that what it is?
No.
Oh, okay. The baby Yeti is Najee Harris.
What's wrong with Najee Harris?
Well, no, never mind. But the thought is that with Najee Harris, he's going up against the Kansas City Chiefs in the championship game. You like that matchup?
I don't hate that matchup. I mean, let's face it. The Chiefs are a good team across the board. Like, no one going against Chiefs is going to have a great game. But when you're talking about a guy who is potentially the workhorse in that offense, I get it. He's been splitting time with Jalen Warren. He's still going to get 10 to 12 carries. And if he can give you 3 yards per carry, if he gives 10, that's not great, but he's still going to give you volume. The volume is going to be there. He's going to produce low RB2 numbers right now. He's not a game breaker by any situation, but he is a solid piece that you can count on going into this week and next week.
See, I don't know. I've been in that. I like Najee just like anybody else. Joe can attest to that. But my thing is with him is like I actually am nervous about him being a free agent. There's no guarantee. Pittsburgh, when's the last time Pittsburgh has re-signed a running back? James Conner, they went and left. Le'Veon Bell, they had the struggle with. So I could very well see Najee Harris is gone. If Najee Harris is gone, who's going to sign him? It's a big unknown. So to me, it's like as a guarantee he's going to go somewhere. The running back market has been lackluster. Besides last year, we saw Jacobs and Henry and Barkley. They were all paid in second contracts. Do you think that's going to change?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what Barkley, Derrick Henry, Tony Pollard, all these guys have done in their second contracts, they've been good. Look at the teams that are going to need a running back. Minnesota, because Aaron Jones is a free agent. He's like 40 years old. Pittsburgh's going to need someone. They still have Jalen Warren. He's a restricted free agent. Las Vegas needs someone because Zamir White's not it, and Alexander Madison's not it, and whoever other scrub they pull off. Dallas going to need someone because Rico Dowdle's a free agent. Denver's going to need someone because Javonte Williams, Chase McLaughlin, like all those guys aren't it either. Estime's not
Chase
it.
McLaughlin's a kicker.
Whatever.
He's just fine. He just doesn't get the workload, Dustin.
There's just no one in Denver that's like the guy. They're going to need someone.
Hopefully
Cleveland could need someone with Chubb being on free agent forwards next year. Najee is going to be 26.8 years old when he hits free agency. He is younger than Rico Dowdle's going to be 26.9. Aaron Jones is 30. Nick Chubb's 28. In terms of the running back class of free agency, he's the top guy in terms of age and production. So I think he's going to get a deal. He will get a deal somewhere. He will get a deal to be a number one guy on a team. Maybe it's Vegas. Maybe it's Dallas. Maybe it's Denver. Maybe it's Minnesota. He's going to be on a good team that's going to just pound the rock with him because that's what he does.
So what do you like? Are you trading like a second round pick for him? Like,
yeah, I'd trade a second round pick for him. I mean, what are you going to get in the second round? You're going to get a flyer at running back?
Bucky Irving?
Not this year.
I'm just saying. I mean, this is a very good running back class. I mean, look what happened with Bucky Irving this past year.
Yeah, we knew, but Bucky Irving wasn't a great running back. He just went to a good situation with a running back in front of him that's not good. Like that's what happened with Bucky Irving. That situation was primed for some running back to go in and take over. Bucky Irving is a good running back, not a great running back. Najee Harris is a better running back than Bucky Irving, hands down. Talent-wise,
I don't know about that, Joe.
I mean, they're different. They don't have the same explosiveness. That's really they're just two different backs. I mean, essentially, Najee Harris is the Rashad White in that scenario, just an inefficient back, but gets the volume and makes him relevant. But I don't like Najee Harris necessarily, especially with the Kansas City Chiefs matchup coming up. But I do like your point of maybe, if you're looking to kind of contend but also want a future play, I think I like Najee Harris's future better than potentially the way the season ends, because I think he does need to get out of Pittsburgh. And if he does go to a team like Minnesota behind a better offensive line, I think he should have more success. I think that's been part of the problem for him in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, when you're saying contending, there's 1 week left of the season. I mean, you got your championship matchup.
Chiefs being very good matchup.
Maybe 2, right? It's not
That's
the great
my
matchup
thing. That's my thing.
It's not a great 1 week play. I'm not playing him in DFS, but in terms of a contending team, I'll take a guy who's going to be a starting running back.
Who am I playing Najee over? I mean, I'm looking for a guy that's going to possibly boom and help me win a championship. I'm not sure Najee's doing that this week against the Chiefs.
Who are you going to? All right, so who is your contender?
Joe, should we get started with you? Dustin's asking.
I can go with my contender. So I'm also going to go with the running back position, Dustin, but I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor, guy who's been pretty hot these last few weeks. It seems like, right before the bye week, the Colts figured something out, like, hey, Anthony Richardson shouldn't be throwing a ton of times. We need to be running the ball more. Right before the bye week, he had 25 carries against the Patriots. Then after the bye, 22 against Denver. This past week against the Titans, 29 carries. Obviously, at 218 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then this week, he's got another good matchup. He should be able to take advantage of with the New York Giants. I mean, saw what teams like the New Orleans Saints were able to do recently against them. Falcons probably didn't run enough, but I feel like Bijan should have had a better game than he did. And there's just room for those big explosive runs that Jonathan Taylor's been having, as long as he's able to hold on to the ball going across the goal line.
Yeah. I mean, Jonathan Taylor's a great running back, but you're going to have to trade a first plus for Jonathan Taylor, where you could trade a second for Najee Harris. That's my only thing. If I'm looking at a contending team, I just need pieces, maybe not necessarily for this week, because if you're a contender, you're in the championship. Like, you got 1 week left. I'm looking at what gets me into contention and keeps me in contention next year.
Yeah, but that first is going to probably be
Taylor.
The first is the back end of the draft, though. I mean, you're not talking about a high first.
Yeah, but you're talking a first plus for Jonathan Taylor. No way you're just getting him for just a first. Are you trading the first and a second for Jonathan Taylor?
He would not be my preference. I think I would choose other running backs over him. But if you're going to shoot the moon, I think Taylor, other than Barkley, maybe, he's been one of the biggest tear lately.
Lately. He also has a massive injury history, so I'm not trading a first and a second for a guy who plays maybe 12 games a season. Sorry.
Yeah. I think, look, Steve knows how I play, man. I'm playing to win. I don't care about those picks. If I can get a guy like Jonathan Taylor and he has another boom week like he did this past week against the Titans, I'll worry about next year. If I'm having the title, I got the belt. I don't care what it took. All I know is I won, and I've got Jonathan Taylor, a guy that's still got future value as well. Right around 26 years old, like Najee.
Yeah,
Joe definitely prescribes to the less need approach.
Yes, he does.
FM pick, Steve.
That's right. That's right. And thank you for using the right language there, Joe.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
No explicits here.
For the folks at home. That's good. So for me, my contending trade target is a guy who was quite controversial in our last episode. It shouldn't be, though, for what we're going to be talking about tonight. And that's going to be wide receiver Davante Adams of the New York Jets, a guy who's been on an absolute tear over these past 2 weeks. He's had 17 catches, 266 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He's had 26 targets, which is ranked, I believe, 6th. If you don't do the ties, or 7th for 7th for best overall these past 2 weeks. He's now got the Buffalo Bills. Oh, I don't know what happened to the Bills. I think they just forgot how to play defense. But if Kaiir Elam is going to be the starting corner, that guy gets absolutely shredded. He's a former first-round pick. I'm a Bills fan. I want him to do well, but he just doesn't look good. And wide receivers are beating him time and time and time again. So I think it could, with Rodgers playing a little bit better lately, and them having that mind meld that were more accustomed to having with those two, I think that Davante Adams is going to have a very good game against the Bills. So what's his future value? I don't know. But for a contending team, I don't disagree with Dustin in the fact that if I'm going to trade for a contending target, I don't want to necessarily get rid of all of my trade capital with picks. I want a guy who's just that cherry on top who can help me win my matchup. I think Adams does that. I talked about Keenan Allen the previous week. He was able to do really well. That's the type of player I'm looking for, kind of that aging veteran who I think could be really helpful.
Yeah, Adams is a great pick because him and Rodgers are playing for legacy right now. Like, they're not playing for anything other than that. Possibly a contract next year or a job next year. And there's a good chance that Buffalo benches a lot of their starters because they could go into that game knowing they're not playing for anything. If Kansas City wins, the Bills are locked into pretty much the 2 or 3 seed. Doesn't make a difference at that point. So they could bench. They already have a banged up secondary. They may start benching some of these starters and rotating some of those guys in. So Adams could be seeing third string cornerbacks. Like, he could just be feasting over practice squad guys. So it's a good week for him to feast. I'm playing him a ton if I have him this week, and he could have a monster game.
You really think that they're going to bench? Because my understanding is they'd have to win at least one more. I don't think, would they really not play their starters for 2 straight weeks? I don't know if they would do that.
If the Chiefs win on Christmas Day,
there's no chance at the 1 seed.
The Bills can't get the 1 seed.
No, I get that, but they still could get not the 3rd seed.
No,
they've got 2 games. If they lose the next 2 games, then they would get 5 losses. And if the Ravens or Steelers win 5 games, at least the Ravens for sure, the Ravens would overtake them.
I mean, at worst, you're the 4 seed. That doesn't make a difference. You're still getting a home game. I mean, you know, 2 home games versus 1.
So either way, the Texans will have the 4 seed. I think it'll be a matter of the 2nd or the 3rd seed.
Yeah, which doesn't make a difference.
I mean, these guys, they missed 3 of their secondary guys due to injury last week. They're not looking to rush those 3 guys back if there's really not too much jostling they can do in terms of the playoff picture. So there is a chance that they do just hold them out and not risk them. I mean, the Bills need Rasul Douglas. They're going to need Taylor Rapp and those, guy like DeMar Hamlin, who's actually been playing well as well. So, it wouldn't surprise me if they do just kind of hold them out and let them rest up and get healthy for the playoffs.
And Baltimore also plays Christmas Day, so they would know the outcome of the Baltimore game and Kansas City. So if Pittsburgh loses to Kansas City locks up 1. Pittsburgh then has 6 losses. If Baltimore loses to Houston, they'd have 6 losses. The Bills are locked in at that point to the 2 seed.
That's true. The only one thing I could possibly be concerned of, but I'm not all that concerned about, and Joe, you talk about it all the time with the squeaky wheel getting the grease. We heard Garrett Wilson, there's some press conference asking him, why aren't you getting involved? His answer was kind of off. So, do they try to get him more involved? The interim head coach said, we're going to try to get Garrett the ball. But I don't know. I don't know if there's a rub between him and Rodgers. I can't really read between the lines on this one. But I
has it that he's going to get traded out of there.
I think he may. He may. So I don't think that this is a situation where Wilson's going to get peppered with targets. I think Adams is still going to be the guy.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, if the last 3 weeks are any indication, I think we see more of the same of the what's been happening, and the Bills let up that big touchdown to Kayshon Boutte last week, and Adams could be in line for a lot of those plays similar, especially if Rasul Douglas isn't lining up out next to him.
Yeah. Are you enjoying this episode so far? Well, if you are, subscribe to our YouTube channel, smash that like button, and hit the notification bell for upcoming videos. We do videos throughout the year, so you're not going to want to miss what we have in store. So transitioning over to our rebuilding trade targets, Dustin, who do you got?
I've got a spicy one here, and it's tight end Erick All for the Cincinnati Bengals. He's Erick All, rookie, tight end for the Cincinnati Bengals. You need to know this name. He's on IR right now, but Mike Gesicki is a free agent. So is Tanner Hudson. So they're losing pieces. T. Higgins is a free agent. Erick All looked really good early in the season, splitting time with Mike Gesicki. People have raved about Mike Gesicki this year, how good he's been. The offense for Cincinnati has shifted. The best year that a tight end has had is 2022 Hayden Hurst with 68 targets. Mike Gesicki currently has 61, so he will probably break that after these next 2 weeks, and he already had a couple of down weeks. Erick All could be the starting tight end for a Cincinnati team that has Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, and then Andre Yosevich, and he could be the basically the second option, which is what you want for your tight end. Great addition right now. You can get him as a throw-in piece on most trades, and you can slot him right in your IR slot. So if I'm a rebuild, that's the guy I'm looking for. He's a young tight end who could end up being the next Evan Ingram, David Njoku type player.
Wow. Why do you really think he has that much upside?
Yeah, he's an explosive tight end. He's got that capability. Yeah. And we're not Michigan homers by any sense of the imagination, Steve.
Boy.
He transferred out of Michigan as well to end his senior year, but he did spend some time in Michigan.
I should have known better. Yeah, the biggest thing with him, I recall him being athletic. The biggest thing is that he has been injury prone over his career, right?
Yeah.
Yes, he has.
I mean, in college, he had injury issues, and then ultimately his rookie season here.
He tore his ACL. Yep.
Yeah. If he does remain healthy, though.
He tore his ACL his rookie year?
Yes.
Well, yeah, this year. Honestly, it'll be interesting to see what happens with T. Higgins, too, because that's when Gesicki's been at his best, is when T. Higgins has been on the field and playing. Yep. So if T. Higgins happens to leave, it'll be interesting to see if, the tight ends continue to kind of fill in those targets.
I'm not entirely convinced with what you're saying, but at the same time, he's a throw-in piece. I don't think that you're going to have a very hard time prying Erick All away from another owner. So, if you're convinced by, what Dustin's saying as far as getting him, I don't see anything wrong with adding him in. I mean, he definitely has upside. There's no question about it. You have seen even a guy like Chase Brown, right? I mean, a guy who, came out, he was a later round pick, came out of really nowhere this year. Obviously, there was an opportunity. Zach Moss got injured. He kind of took advantage of it. But it's good to see these young players developing and them using them, even Josefas as well. So, could see the tight end position developing for them going forward.
And especially for fantasy, where tight end is kind of this wasteland of players. If you don't have one of the best guys, you're kind of just muddling through anyway. Like I said, if he can be a David Njoku, Evan Ingram type, where he is in that second or third tier, that's a streamable player every week for your team, getting them for basically free is huge.
All right, Joe. So who do you got as your trade target for rebuilding teams?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the wide receiver position and go with wide receiver Adonai Mitchell, who's I think he's got a chance to be a buy low opportunity. A guy who's 22 years old, been pretty disappointing rookie year. I know, Steve, you weren't a big fan of this guy. I was more so a fan of Adonai Mitchell, and I still think this is a good opportunity to go ahead and buy him. Michael Pittman's an aging wide receiver. After this upcoming 2025 season, there's an out for the Colts contractually there, where his dead cap hit's not that much. I could see him not being there in 2026. I know for at least 2025 you'll have to deal with him, but Michael Pittman hasn't been really garnering those same amount of targets with Anthony Richardson there at quarterback, and he likes to throw it down the field. And we've seen him target it and Adonai Mitchell down the field. Hasn't always worked out, but I think the potential is there. And as Anthony Richardson continues to grow, and Adonai Mitchell sophomore season, I think could be a lot better for him. And this is an opportunity to get him at a pretty low price.
And who's going to be throwing him the ball?
Well, I assume still Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
I mean,
but you don't like him throwing the ball, so I'm kind of wondering what's going on with your pick here.
I understand, but I think he could get better. I mean, Anthony Richardson has just been a
what? Do you think so?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm not saying anything out of bounds here that he could get better. I mean,
I feel like he will, but every time I talk to him, you say he's just a glorified running back.
Well, that's really what he is. I mean, look, he's been running more lately. He's going to be about a 50% passer. But he's also, when he got drafted, he played the least amount of football of any quarterback drafted in the draft class. And he just needs the, snaps and the starts and the opportunities to keep playing. You see the flashes, right? And I think that's just what everyone sees. You see the flashes, and there's times where he, throws on time and it looks really good. But then there's just all those other throws that are just like, oof, just not good. But I think if he can kind of hone in on his accuracy and improve in that, hopefully his passing percentage gets better over time, but he still likes to throw the deep ball, and that's what you're looking for. I mean, and Adonai Mitchell, they've been sending him on the deep targets. Hasn't always worked out, but if those connect more often, you're going to get some big boom weeks out of Adonai Mitchell.
I mean, I think Anthony Richardson can be better. If you look at Lamar Jackson's rookie year where he played half a season, he wasn't great. Then all of a sudden figured it out. Same thing, Josh Allen figured it out. This is really his rookie year for him. I just wonder about Adonai Mitchell. Like, is he a good player? He had one good year in college after transferring. He had 2 years where he was just meh. on a good team. I just don't know. He hasn't done anything to like. There's never been a team where I'm like, oh, there's the potential we like people see. Yes, he's super cheap. So if you have a spot that you want to waste on him, I guess I just don't know if he's really someone
waste on him.
Wow,
that's a strong words. Waste.
I mean, if you want to have that lottery ticket, I don't think it's a waste. But if you want to have that lottery ticket, I'm just not banking on him being good anytime soon. I
mean, I hear Joe is saying as far as the opportunity. I think the opportunity could be there because I think they will move off of Pittman. And I don't think Downs is a number one receiver. So you'd have to think that Mitchell and Alec Pierce will be a free agent here coming up as well. So it's definitely possible. They haven't connected. They just have been not on the same page. You're hoping for Richardson to have the archetype like Dustin was saying with Lamar and Josh Allen. Maybe he works with some QB gurus over the offseason, fine tunes his throwing motion, whatever, becomes more accurate. Because if he can kind of rein it in, he could be very good.
Yeah, I worry that there just hasn't been a ton of targets for him, considering he's been playing a significant number of snaps. He played 89% of the snaps last week and saw one target. Like, he's just not getting out there. And I don't have a lot of confidence in the Colts as a team, as a well-managed team. Like, they're up there with the Jets and the Browns in terms of poorly owned teams, and that they'll figure it out.
Colts are a bad owned team.
I mean,
Jim Irsay is one of the worst owners.
I don't disagree that Irsay is like not a good owner, but at least they've been having some success. I mean, this is back-to-back years of possibly being on the fringe in the hunt for the playoffs. I mean, that's at least better than what those other organizations are doing. And Browns are still trying to figure out what to do with Deshaun Watson here after that terrible contract.
Yeah, the Colts aren't at Browns level yet, but they're sneakily there. It just seems like they always mismanage people. Even Michael Pittman, who should have been a great receiver, has always just been an okay, good receiver in the NFL. Like, he's never really broke out into be one of those top end guys. He's a bottom end wide receiver one for fantasy. He probably should be a middle wide receiver one. Like, he's just better than what he's been playing because he just hasn't had the talent around him. I just worry that Adonai Mitchell just isn't going to ever succeed in the NFL.
Did you lose a championship with Michael Pittman or something?
No, I think Michael Pittman's fine. Michael Pittman is fine. He's just fine. There's nothing outstanding.
This is a down year for him, but I want to say that he had.
Oh, I mean, his 2 touchdowns is down from his 4 touchdowns the year before, or the 4 touchdowns the year before that. Down is what?
He played Michael Pittman in PPR leagues because he was just a PPR machine. This guy, the deep ball is not Michael Pittman. He's just the quick slant guy, and you enjoy the amount of volume.
He's Michael Thomas.
No,
right,
he's not. No. He's Jarvis Landry. He's Jarvis Landry is what he is. He gets a ton of targets.
That short.
He soaks up a ton of targets and doesn't really score touchdowns and is never an alpha. That's what Michael Pittman is.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I've never been a fan of his either, but I'm just saying.
He's good, not great. And that's okay.
That is okay.
All right, guys. So we might as well end on a great note. So I have my Dynasty trade target for rebuilding teams, and we're going to go with tight end Kyle Pitts.
All right. April Fool's is a few months away, Steve. Who do you?
No, I'm dead serious on this. I'm going to absolutely 100%. Here's why. Okay, Kyle Pitts right now, his value it couldn't be any lower. Okay, based on trade value charts I'm seeing, you could get him for a 3rd round pick. I would do that in a heartbeat to get Kyle Pitts for a 3rd round pick. You got to remember, this guy was a former top 5 tight end drafted 1st round. He's got extreme potential. He's one of 3 rookie tight ends ever to surpass over 1,000 receiving yards of the tight end position. He is 24 years old, and if you look at a similar archetype of a tight end, now mind you, he was later in the 1st round, but look at a guy like David Njoku. David Njoku didn't put it all together until after his 7th season. In the 7th season, he ended up getting 882 yards and 6 touchdowns. And if you have Njoku, you're really happy. But at some point, when you had Njoku, you basically were like, this guy's horrible. I'm going to get rid of him. It may be in Atlanta, maybe with Michael Penix. Eventually, it was one game. I know the little football got out of his hands and it was an interception. It was not a good look.
Hot potato to the defense.
Yeah, hot potato to the defense. But it may not be in Atlanta. It may be somewhere else. But I could very well see his potential eventually coming to fruition, similar to what we saw with Njoku. So I'm buying on the talent. Guys like Dustin are looking to get him at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to pick him up at the Dollar Tree, and I'll be happy to have him.
I give it to you.
Let me get this straight. You're like, oh, he could be like David Njoku and break out in year 7. So you're going to buy him for the round pick and wait 3 more years for him to be possibly good.
Absolutely. You see the tight end landscape? The tight end landscape is abysmal.
No, it's not. Listen, Kyle Pitts, he can be as athletic as you want. Athleticism doesn't equate to production on the NFL team. He just hasn't done it. Michael Penix is the best quarterback from this draft class, but even he couldn't save him. I mean, Kyle Pitts.
He's had 1 game with him. What do you mean?
What has Kyle Pitts done to warrant anybody wanting him?
Over 1,000 yards in a rookie
3
season.
years ago. 3 years
ago.
Yeah,
so what?
That's like DJ Chark. DJ Chark had 1 good year, and you're like, 3 years ago, DJ Chark was good. The dude sucks. You don't want DJ Chark. You shouldn't want Kyle Pitts.
I wonder who would you. So you're telling me you would rather have at the same value?
Pretty much anybody.
You'd rather have Ben Sinnott?
Yeah, because Ben Sinnott's got a future. We know that he could. There's a higher potential that Ben Sinnott could be good than Kyle Pitts being good.
How about Theo Johnson? Theo Johnson.
Hands down, Theo Johnson.
No way. Oh, no
100%.
No way. You guys are nuts.
Johnson.
Theo Johnson.
How would you not want Kyle Pitts?
Because I've seen it, Steve, and it's not good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, if you haven't gotten it done this long into your career, it's just not going to happen unless Matt Ryan's going to come back and perform. I get it, but I feel like that's just I really feel like that wasn't anything on David Njoku. It's just kind of lack of opportunities. Like Kyle Pitts has gotten these opportunities, and all the rage and intrigue about him was, oh, he's not a tight end, he's a wide receiver. And guess who you heard that about? A guy like Brock Bowers. All right. And he's getting it done in Las Vegas with crappy quarterbacks. So I don't know what Kyle Pitts is.
What other weapons does he have around him?
Huh?
Kyle Pitts?
Well, no, Brock Bowers.
I mean, Jacoby Myers. I mean,
you got Drake London, you got Darnell Mooney, you got Bijan Robinson.
Next, and what Las Vegas is throwing out there, and Brock Bowers is awesome and just performing how everyone thought he would right out of college. And guess who hasn't? Kyle Pitts.
You guys need to be more patient. I mean, this is a fine wine here.
I can't wait 3 years.
Yeah.
If you're rebuilding, then in your mind
a rebuild should take you 2 years. 2 years.
Then he could show up in 2 years.
He hasn't shown up in 3. So why would I think he's going to show up in 2? He hasn't shown up in 3 years.
The way you're talking about him, you would just flat out cut him.
Yeah.
No. You would cut him?
I mean, I would trade him for something because someone's going to buy him like you. I'll find someone like you who's going to trade me a 3rd or 4th round pick or maybe even a 2nd round pick because they're like, oh, his athleticism and he's 1,000 yards. He's not good.
Well, you don't own any of them at this point.
No, I don't because I knew better. Everyone thought Kyle Pitts was a unicorn. He's just a donkey with an ice cream cone strapped to his head. That's all it is. I've said that multiple times. He's just not good. That. You're waiting for like Irv Smith to have a great year again, or CJ Uzama. Oh, he had a good year 1 year. Maybe he'll do it again.
They're not even close to the same thing.
Are you still waiting for Devin Funches to have a good year? Like, what are you waiting on, man? Tommy Tremble? Like, what are we waiting on here?
How many tight ends have been drafted in the top 5 of the NFL draft?
Doesn't matter. Draft capital doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all.
I disagree.
There's no correlation.
Well, the only thing that it matters, Steve, is he will get additional opportunities.
He'll get additional opportunities.
If the Atlanta Falcons put him on the trade block or cut him, but that also doesn't mean he's also going to just emerge into this great tight end. All of a sudden. I mean, I think the David Njoku story as well. I think it could be a decent comparison. Just because it could take that long. But to Dustin's point, you don't want to be waiting another 4 years to just be like, oh man, yeah, those Kyle Pitts shares are finally paying off.
Yeah. I'd be glad to take it. Think about this. What about this? Kyle Pitts, they decline his 5th-year option. He becomes a free agent. By that time, the Chiefs and Kelsey's retired, and he goes to the Chiefs with Mahomes. You'd love it.
Would you?
Would you?
I would.
I mean, are you excited for Sky Moore or Kadarius Toney on the Chiefs? Everybody was excited. Oh, it's the Chiefs. Who cares? If you're a bad player, it doesn't matter. You're on a good team.
Kyle Pitts has not had a coaching staff that really has helped him develop and be the type of player that he can be.
If he was so, it shouldn't take a coaching staff. He should just emerge. Like, yeah, I don't know. I think there's just too many excuses for this guy. It's just, let's just call it what it is. The guy sucks. He can't play.
Yeah.
And move on. I wouldn't want him. I mean, I would gladly take all those guys like Benson, Theo Johnson. I'd rather take the flyer that Erick All stays healthy and turns into something.
No way. You guys are off your rocker.
Give me Michael Mayer over Kyle Pitts.
You are off your rocker. You are literally off your rocker. You'd rather have Erick All over Kyle Pitts?
Yeah.
So if I offered you a straight up trade and I said, I will give you Erick All for Kyle Pitts, you'd say yes.
Yes.
You two are.
Because here's the thing. I'll take a guy who we don't know his future and we have no evidence of him being good or bad versus someone we have evidence of him being bad.
No, you have evidence of being very good. He was great in his first year.
1 year. 1 year
is better than what All has to show.
No.
All has nothing to show.
1 year of a fluke versus 3 years of bad. 1 versus 3. 3 is still greater than 1. He has 3 years of a pattern and a history of being bad. I'll take that over 1 year fluke 4 years ago.
He's still a tight end 2 right now. You can't even say that about Erick All.
Yeah, Erick All's injured.
I think you guys are off your rocker.
And he'll be on.
I can't believe
the Eagles with Joe Burrow.
Yeah,
I mean that's a great opportunity.
Would you like Kyle Pitts on the Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow?
I mean, yes, but he's still not going to be great. It'd be interesting, but he's still not going to. Again, situation matters, but talent, if he's just not good, is just still there. He can be athletic as one. He can be drafted. He could have been the number 1 overall draft. Doesn't matter.
Mark my words. Kyle Pitts will be successful.
What is successful to you?
He will be a tight end 1.
No.
When?
And he will be better than Erick All. That I can guarantee you.
That's a possibility. But the problem is we don't know what Erick All is. We know what Kyle Pitts is.
When will Pitts be tight end 1 next year? Or
he will... I believe that he's on the David Njoku trajectory. I just don't know when it will.
So in like 2028?
Yeah.
More so like 2026, 2027, I'd expect.
Here's the deal, Steve. If the prettiest girl you ever met comes up, kisses you once, and then punches you 3 times, are you going to let her again? What are you expecting? A punch or a kiss? You're going to expect a punch. That's what you're getting with Kyle Pitts.
But she gave me a kiss, though.
Yeah, but she's punched you 3 times in the nuts.
Well, you didn't say that part. You added that. Sure it does.
If someone punches you 3 times, the next thing you expect is a punch.
Did you own Pitts at all and were very dissatisfied?
I know better.
You guys are off your rocker.
I've been telling you for years Kyle Pitts is not good.
You're not wrong. You have definitely been out in front.
Ironically enough, Dustin, one of his greatest regrets was at the top of the season this year in my league that I run. He made a trade for Kyle Pitts. He freaking regretted it all year and said, "Oh, that was a detriment to my team because
I traded Alvin Kamara for him."
And now you're just holding on hope. It's sunk.
But that was a redraft league, and a Dynasty league. I would be very interested in Kyle Pitts, 100%.
No,
but why?
I already told you why.
No.
Just because of a possibility of him turning out to be David Njoku? I mean,
would you like David Njoku right now?
I don't know. No, I told you I didn't want him this year, and the only reason he was halfway decent because Jameis Winston started playing quarterback. If it's Deshaun Watson, frankly, no. I told you that in the offseason.
If I just sit through 7 years of bad David Njoku for 2 or 3 years of good David Njoku, no. I don't want that.
What do you mean? No, you would be benefiting. Think of it as a long-term investment. What's wrong with long-term investments?
Because I'm in the business of playing fantasy, Steve, and I don't want to be doing it for long-term. Yeah. I want to be competing, and if I got to wait 7 years for a freaking player to be good, then frankly, my team's not going to be good either.
That's team building.
I'm fine with long-term investors when there's something that shows me that they will be good. 1 year versus 3 years is good enough for me to say, nope, I'm out. It's like you're holding on to Napster stock and it's going to come back one of these days. No, it's done. It's over.
Maybe Blockbuster.
Yeah. Blockbuster used to be great. Sucks now.
Kind of like Kyle Pitts. Rookie year is great, and now it sucks.
Oh boy, I feel like this can keep going on. So, Dustin,
Steve's got his Toys R Us shares. He's like, oh well, they're back at Macy's. It's gonna be good now. No, it's still not that good.
Dustin, thank you so much for joining the show. As always, where can others find your great work?
You can find me on Twitter at the DUnit13. You can check me out Tuesday nights live on YouTube, Bridge the Gap podcast, 10 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday night.
You could also send Dustin a Kyle Pitts jersey as a way of thank you.
You sure can.
Podcast.
I need Dustin, a new napkin.
Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time.